Welcome back to the comprehensive example of the new Angular routing and navigations to help make it easier to understand the Angular routing concepts. The most basic and common in almost every web, mobile, or responsive web applications feature is routing and navigation. Angular uses a single-page applications, which means to navigate between views, screens, or contents does not need to change the whole page. Angular route is used to navigate between views. When the user clicks the links that will change the URL, then the Angular router will interpret it as an action to switch or change to another view. Table of contents. Preparations. Basic route example. Route information example. Wildcard routes example. Nesting routes example. Custom routes animation example. In this tutorial, we will create a new Angular applications with a routing module as default. Then continue with more views and nested views completed with send or get parameter, animated transitions, child routing, etc. Preparation. We assume that you have installed Node with npm or yarn. To make sure all is installed, open the terminal, then type this command. The Node.js and npm versions that we use are the stable and recommended versions. Next, we have to install Angular CLI by typing this command. Now we have the latest versions of Angular when this example was written. Next, create an Angular applications for this routing and navigation. Example, by typing this command. Next, to sanitize the newly created Angular app projects, go to that projects folder, then run the Angular application. Open your browser, then go to localhost 4200, and you will see this page, which means the Angular is ready to go. Now this Angular application is ready to use with the routing and navigation examples. To close the running Angular application, just press Ctrl+C. Next, you can working these examples with your own IDE or text editor. We are using Visual Studio Codes. Basic route example. Before creating a basic route, first we need to add a new Angular component by typing these commands. Those newly generated components will automatically register in the src app module ts, so we just need to add them to the src app routing module ts. Open that file, then add these imports. Next, add or modify the constant variables of routes by this array of components routes. Those components in the routes variable are accessible through this URL. Next, we will navigate through those each components by adding these hyperlinks inside the main Angular components. Open and edit src app component HTML, then replace all HTML tags inside the div with class name content. When the Angular application runs, you will see this page with links to the newly added routing. Route information example. To pass data or information between components, we can put it all as within route. For example, a first component sends an ID or objects to a second component via route. There are a few ways to send information to another components. First, use URL query parameters. Open and edit is RCF bedroom component TS. Then replace all TypeScript codes with this. Next, open and edit is RCF bedroom components HTML. Then replace all HTML tags with this. So the second component will receive these information from the first component using the query params method to get the message value. Second, add object params programmatically from the TypeScript. Open and edit is RCF bedroom component TS. Then replace all TypeScript tag with this. Next, open and edit is RCF bedroom component HTML. Then replace all HTML tags with this. The second way directly adds parameters to the route to the router navigate. In the is RCF bedroom component TS replace the go to bedroom method with this. In the RCF bedroom component TS replace the ng on init method with this. The third way is to register the parameter to the app routing module TS. Let's replace the routes constant in the RCF app routing module TS. In the RCF bedroom component HTML, change the button to use router link. In the RCF bedroom component TS, replace the ng on init method with this. Those ways will make a difference in the URL. Wildcard routes example. In the basic Angular routing, you just can navigate to the routing that defines in the app routing module TS and the URL query parameters. Unfortunately, when you point to a different URL other than that, the view will be redirected to the root URL. If you want to handle invalid URL navigation errors, you can redirect the entire undefined router by the wildcard routes that defines with 2 asterisks. Next, open and edit again is RCF app routing module TS. Then add these wildcard routes below other routes, so it will look like this. These wildcard routes required a page not found components. For that, generate a new component by type this command. Import that component in is RCF app routing module TS file. Make a little modifications to this RCF page not found components HTML file by these lines of HTML tags. Now, when you point the URL localhost, kitchens, you will see this view with a button that takes to the home view. Nesting routes example. Nesting routes mean the other components that has other router outlet as the parent components. The child of these components launch inside the parent components, router outlets. Create a new components for this example. Next, open and edit is RC app, living room component HTML. Then replace all HTML tags with this. Next, open and edit is RC app routing module CS. Then add the nested routes to the routes constant. Don't forget to import those components. Next, open and edit is RC app component HTML. Then add these links to the new components. Custom route animation example. By default, the navigations in the Angular application does not have an animation transition. For that, we will try to make a custom route or navigation transition. We still use existing components, just adding a custom route animation transitions. Open and edit is RCF app module TS, then add this import of browser animation module. Add to the ng module imports after browser module. Next, open and edit is RC app routing TS, then modify the routes variable to add animation as a data field. Next, create this RC app animation TS file to configure the animation style, then fill that file with this TypeScript codes. Add that animation configurations to this RC app component TS. By import it first along with router outlets module. Add that animations to the components object. Add the functions to enable an animations on the routable animation views. Next, add route animations to the div that wraps route outlet in the RC app component HTML. Now, you will see the animations transitions when going to article details from the article and vice versa. That is the basic Angular routing and navigations. You can get the full source codes and the article links in descriptions below. Thank you.